Joel Kinnaman, you star on The Killing as Detective Stephen Holder. The fourth and final season premieres on Netflix this August. You've finished filming the episodes, right?
Yeah, we finished like a couple of months ago. We finished the last episode. Jonathan Demme directed the final episode, and we had a beautiful conclusion of the show.
What was it like to say goodbye to the show and this character after four seasons?
It was quite emotional actually. I think I underestimated how much it meant to me and how much it meant to me to conclude it. We had a couple of false endings where I thought I was going to move on and do other things and sort of leave the show where it was, and but then we got this opportunity to conclude the show, and it was very meaningful to do that, and I felt that it just became it just really became something whole, and it was a very emotional and strong feeling, and we all worked very hard on the show, and very proud of it, and proud of the characters and of their journey. So it was very rewarding to see it all come to an end and be concluded in such a way.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a really wild ride for the killing. Behind the scenes, nothing is certain in television, but certainly, even by those standards, the killing, sort of was up and down, more than usual. It was announced to be canceled twice, and then it was renewed. Did you ever think that you would get to this point, that you would finish it, back when that all that was happening?
No, I didn't, because it got it got canceled. So I thought that was it. That was a wrap. But then it did come back, and I thought that was I was very happy about it, and I was quite moved by the fan response after it got canceled, and how there was a lot of very passionate fans of the show, and I think that was you know I think that was probably the main reason why the show came back.
Now, without giving away any specifics, of course, how do you feel about where the show left Detective Holder in the end?
Um, I thought it left him in a beautiful place. Yeah, I was really happy with it. It was. I mean, the whole show, just the conclusion is really good. I felt so satisfied and happy with it, and I felt it was very worthy of the character's journey and strife, um, I'm dead certain that people that like the show are gonna love the ending.
The third season aired last summer, and it featured a new case and a largely new cast, apart from you and Mireille Enos. What was it like getting to explore that new mystery, that serial killer story, and a set of new character relationships for Detective Holder?
Yeah, I mean, I felt that the first two seasons were based on a Danish original, and even though like our storyline veered off and was different in many ways, it was still sort of loosely based on that storyline. And in the third season, um, it was our writers that came up with their own story, and I think that they had been planning for a long time, and I feel like the show really found its stride and found its own identity in the third season in a way that um, they just took it further, and I felt like we were able to deepen our characters, and yeah, so I felt like we really hit our stride in the third season, and then in the fourth season it's so intense. There's just so much going on, and so dramatically, it's super intense. And then it's a compressed season. It's just 6 episodes. They're a little bit longer because um, I think in the first three seasons the episodes were about 42 minutes long, and here they're 55. So that makes up for a little bit, but so now the storyline is compressed and condensed and very intense. There's a lot going on.
That last season is going to be 6 episodes as opposed to 12 or 13 for the previous seasons. How do you think that affects the storyline? Do you wish you had more episodes to be able to tell the fourth season story?
I felt like this storyline was perfectly adjusted to those 6 episodes. I mean, I feel like there's still time to breathe, and we still have time to have solitude moments for the characters, but it's very intense, and I feel like it's a perfectly written storyline and story arc for those six episodes.
It feels like last season. It feels like Holder really came into his own in the third season. Early on in the series, we the audience had doubts about where his allegiances lied, but now it seems like he stepped up into a more of a bona fide hero role. When you were playing last season, did you get that sense that Holder had become more of a leader than he was before?
Yeah, I think I mean, I never saw him like that in the first season, but he did definitely did take him a while to settle in at the job. I mean, of course, I'll always look at it from a different perspective when I'm playing the person. And I don't play the mystery of the character. That's not my truth. Um, so my perception of the character is probably always going to be different than people that are watching it or that are editing it, and um, so I don't really think about it in those terms, but I can understand how you can perceive them that way.
You've been submitted at the Emmys as a supporting actor in previous seasons, and this season you're entered as a lead actor. Was that a decision made by the network? Did you have a say in moving up to the Best Actor race?
I didn't know. I didn't I didn't know that I was supporting before. Or maybe yeah, I probably did know that, but I didn't know that they changed it to leading now. But that sounds right. I think it's funny how that is when there's a show that has where like the primary lead is a female and the secondary lead is a male. The male is seen as a supporting, but if the gender roles were reversed, there would be no doubt that the co-lead would be, if the co-lead was a female, that would be considered as a lead. So it's interesting.
One of Holder's most important relationships of the new season, in season three, was with Bullet, who was a girl who was living on the streets, who was at risk of being killed. What was it like working with that actress, Bex Taylor-Klaus, during the season?
Yeah, that was really fun. I like working with like inexperienced, young, talented actors, especially when you have a storyline that's so intertwined and there's a mentoring within the relationship on screen, so it becomes she was she would always be asking for advice, and I was happy to give my 2 cents whenever, and it was great to follow a young actress that is having her first real experience, and just see her develop over the period, over the course of the season, and it was she was really impressive, and it was a lot of fun to see that development, and to be connected on screen.
Did you feel like that relationship with her character brought out for you like a different side of Holder that we hadn't seen before?
Maybe. Yeah, I think she brought out some colors that we hadn't seen before. I think we did see when Holder's hanging out with his nephew Davy, and but this is sort of in some way, I think Holder identified a lot with Bullet, and he could see himself in her, and I think he could feel that he had similar wounds, or at least had healed from similar wounds, and some probably were not healed. Um, so it was like a female younger version of himself, So I think the relationship with Bullet was also a way for Holder to deal with himself and his history and what he's still struggling with. Um, so I thought that was a beautiful relationship. It was a lot of fun to play, and I was really proud how it came out.
Bullet's death was one of the major tragic developments of the third season, and the episode where Holder discovers Bullet's body, called Reckoning, that was probably one of the most emotional of the whole series for Holder. Were those scenes especially difficult to shoot? What was it like shooting that episode?
Um, yeah, it's always a bit scary when you know you're gonna go into those kind of like those emotional depths. Even though I've done it many times and I have confidence that I'll get there, you're always a little bit tense um, and there's a in the way that I work, it's usually something that like builds up during the day and when I arrive at morning on set, I know I know where I'm going today, and so it's a full day process that you're going into you're diving into those waters, and fortunately, I had Jonathan Demme directing that episode. I think that was episode 9 in the third season, um, and I'm so fortunate to get to play with Mireille Enos, who's one of the best actresses in the world, in my opinion, and it makes it so much easier when you to go through those kind of or to swim through those deep waters with those kind of people accompanying you.
As you mentioned, the that episode was directed by Jonathan Demme, who you also mentioned directed the series finale episode. What was it like working with him? That first time, was it intimidating to work with a director whose work is that famous, The Silence of the Lambs?
No, I mean I don't get intimidated by people that have done great work. That's just inspiring to me, um, and it's one of the great work relationships of my career. Jonathan is he's a master of of filmmaking, but it's very interesting to see that he's a positive master. He's very encouraging, and like he gets the whole crew behind him, and everybody just wants to give and add, and he's he's very specific with what he wants, and everybody will know immediately if they're not performing or if he's not getting what he wants, um, but it's a very positive, energized atmosphere on set when he's directing, and and just the way that he talks about the scenes, the way he talks about the camera movement, and how how we are now, we go over here and we discover him standing over here, just the way that he phrases, the way that he sees the work, and the staging of the images just puts you in a place where you're just energized and excited to tell the story. So it was a great privilege to get to shoot 2 episodes with him.
In addition to The Killing, you have a film career that's starting to build in a big way lately. Earlier this year you played the lead role in the RoboCop reboot. Was that your first kind of big budget extravaganza?
Um, yeah, definitely in a lead role. I've been part of a couple of movies before that, have big budgets in my opinion, but not quite as RoboCop. So yeah, I mean that was a different thing.
For an actor, how does it feel shooting a big effects-driven action film like that compared to something smaller scale and character-driven like the Killing was?
Well, you do less of what is most interesting. I mean, I enjoy mostly doing drama is what gives me my biggest kicks. It can be fun to do a little action, but after a while it gets quite tedious, and you have to wait much longer when you're shooting action. It's the time between the setups are much longer. So it's a great experience to get to do that, but like when I look at the script of RoboCop and I see like 7 scenes, and these are the 7 scenes that makes me want to do this film, apart from the career boosting aspect of doing a film like that. But artistically, like there's 7 scenes that I want to do, and I'll shoot those 7 scenes in maybe 2 weeks in total, and then you spend 4 months shooting action, and that's just the nature of the genre, and it was great to get that experience.
What would you say? You mentioned 7 scenes that you were really excited about in the film. What would you say was one of your favorites that really stuck out for you that made you want to play that role?
I think it was there was 3 or a couple of scenes that were put together, like when he wakes up, and when he comes back and it gets revealed to Alex what's left of him. Those were definitely the most challenging scenes in the script. Also the Skype call or whatnot to the wife, coming home to the family, and there was some scene in the beginning. So yeah, so maybe it was 6 scenes.
And now that the killing is over, do you think you'll focus strictly on film now, or would you consider another regular series role?
I wouldn't do another series. I would definitely consider doing a miniseries. I think that's a great format for an actor. When you what the problem that I have with doing a series is, first of all, the amount of time that it takes, but it's that you don't know 100% where the character is going, so it's a big gamble, and I love the process when I see a script and I see a character arc, and you see the possibilities of contrast that you can sort of infuse into the script, and you start to sort of plan a little bit where you can put that in and show different colors of the character, and every scene becomes so crucial to the arc of the character, and it's contained within maybe a 2 to 3 month period, and I'm a restless individual, so that works really well for my nature. But a miniseries would be cool. I think that's also a great format when you can really go into depth with a character and shoot it over 7, 8 months, and yeah, so I'd like to do that sometime as well. But I think it's gonna be a while until I do another show like this. I'd be surprised if I do it within the next at least 7, 8 years.
Well, the good news about miniseries these days is that there seems to be a resurgence of those, with regular miniseries, but also anthology series like True Detective, American Horror Story. These things where you can commit to a story arc and for a season and not be committed to it for several years at a time.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting.
Do you have any projects currently in the works that you can talk about that you're excited about?
I do. I don't know if I can talk about them yet, because they haven't been announced yet. So I don't think that it's my place to do that since it hasn't been. We haven't quite talked about it yet. But I got a couple 3 projects that are in different stages of financing and casting.
Well, I want to wish you the best of luck with those, and with the killing at the Emmys, and with the upcoming 4th season, in August. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was nice talking to you.